All right. Bismillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So today we have Rehan Abbasi, and the interview is on RQF level 6, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Rehan Abbasi. And the date is 11th of December, 2024,
Yes.
inshallah. I've seen your topic, I've reviewed it, I've taken questions around it, inshallah. Uh, as I said, you are going through the old stream of exams, right? The old stream involves, if you want to complete the diploma program, you just need to complete basically the MCQ parts, the courses, watching all the courses, doing all the MCQs, and then attempting basically the interview and presentation, right? This is the old stream. The new, which is only valid until 31st of January 2024, right? 31st of, sorry, December 2024. After this,
Okay.
on 1st of January 2025, the new stream will begin. And the new stream, we are focusing the exam, the diploma issuance is divided into three parts now. The first part is the MCQs, which is 25% weightage. In the old policy, it is 50%, right? The second thing that you have to understand is that in the new policy from 1st of January 2025, the interview and presentation will be 25% marks, right? In the old one, it was 50%. So in the new policy, the first thing is MCQ 25%, interview and presentation 25%, 50% is going to be specifically on allocated Al-Razak tasks, right? Those are the labs.
Okay.
And I believe that you're already doing many of them. Are you doing the Razak program right now? The preliminary labs and all of those?
Yes, I have started that, but my focus is that when I will finish this presentation, I will speed up that process, but I am doing that in a slow speed right now.
Yes. So those will be given to you. And for
Okay.
level 3, it's going to be roughly 150 plus tasks. Level 4 is going to be incrementally increased up. And for level 6, it's going to be, I think, around 300 plus tasks. This is only for diploma issuance. But if you want to be the Al Razak job placement, then you have to do all of them, right? But those tasks are very simple, very easy to do. We are creating a lot of other things. And that is how we're going to start doing the uh, assessment process, right? Okay, so I've known you, Rehan, when you came long ago.
Yes, sir.
You were asking me a lot of questions regarding the process and what needs to be done, so on and so forth. Um, how
From the
has
start, from the
yes,
start till this day, I'm under your guidance. Whatever you told me, I was
so
doing
far.
that.
So we're going to talk about all of those things once the course is, the exam is complete. All right,
Yes.
so let's start the exam. It's a simple process. You have to go through it. Everyone needs to go through it, right? Um, I will give you 15 minutes for the interview, for the presentation, followed by 25 to, sorry, uh, 30 to 45 minutes of basically Q&A session, right? Where I'm going to test and your knowledge, your skills, and everything. Okay, inshallah. All right, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You can start your work. I'm going to give you 15 minutes now. Bismillah. You can share your screen and you can start. Okay.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So it's working. And how is my voice? Is it audible?
Very clear, loud and clear.
Okay, that's good. Let's start. So my name is Rehan Abbasi, currently pursuing my RQF Level 6 Diploma, and today I'm going to talk about automated compliance and AI-augmented DevSecOps for large-scale cloud deployments on AWS and Azure. And I will cover these topics in my presentation, which is DevOps, SysOps, AI-augmented DevSecOps, Cybersecurity, GRC, Cloud Security, and conclude with a case study. Let's begin with the foundation of DevOps, that's CI/CD pipeline. We have different tools for automating our workflows. So first of all, let's talk about Terraform. It enables automated deployments and management of infrastructure using code, ensuring consistency across environments. It supports multi-cloud providers, for example, AWS and Azure, for flexible, scalable deployments, scalable cloud deployments. Then it infrastructure templates can include compliance policies, ensuring resources meet standard from the start. Then we have Jenkins. It's an open source CI/CD tool. It's an open source CI/CD tool that it automates the building, testing, and deployment of code, integrating into DevSecOps workflows. It offers plugins for security testing, monitoring, and integrating with AWS, Azure, and Terraform, enhancing functionality. Jenkins pipelines can be written as code, allowing for consistent, repeatable, and automated deployment process. Security plugins can scan for vulnerabilities, ensuring compliance throughout the CI/CD process. Then we have AWS Code Pipeline. It automates the end-to-end deployment process from code changes to production release. It seamlessly integrates with AWS services, for example, Code Build, Code Deploy, and CloudWatch, streamlining AWS cloud operations. Then we have it supports pre-deployment security and compliance checks, ensuring code meets organizational standards before release. It's ideal for managing complex applications and microservices at scale with AWS environments. And then we have Azure DevOps. It provides tools for CI/CD project management, test and monitoring, enabling full lifecycle of DevSecOps. It natively integrates third-party tools like Jenkins and Terraform. Its reusable CI/CD pipeline templates enable quick setup of secure, compliant deployment pipelines across projects. It enforces security with policy checks, automated testing, and secure deployment to Azure resources. Then we have SysOps with focus on automated compliance. AWS config and Azure policy are our go-to tools for this purpose. Let's talk about AWS config. AWS config continuously tracks configuration changes, AWS resources, ensuring they remain compliant with the predefined rules. Provides snapshots of resource configuration over time, enabling easy auditing and identifying non-compliant stands. With AWS config rules, compliance violations can trigger automatic remediation actions to resource to a compliant state. Users can define custom rules to meet specific compliance needs, alongside pre-built AWS rules for regulatory standards. Then we have Azure policy. Azure policy define and enforce rules across Azure resources to ensure meet organizational and regulatory standards. It continuously monitors resources to check for policy compliance with real-time reporting on non-compliant resources. It offers a library of pre-built policies, for example, GDPR, PCI DSS, and allows custom policies to meet unique compliance needs. The automatic remediation tasks can be configured automatically. It corrects non-compliant resources, maintaining consistent compliance. Integrating with Security Center, work alongside with Azure Security Center to provide centralized visibility into compliance and security across Azure resources. Then we have AI-augmented DevSecOps. AI is revolutionizing DevSecOps, and platforms like AWS, DevOps Guru, and Azure AI are at the forefront. Now, let's talk about AWS DevOps Guru. AWS DevOps Guru uses machine learning to automatically detect operational issues in application, identifying performance bottlenecks and resolving them quickly. It constantly monitors resource behavior to identify deviations from normal pattern, providing proactive alerts. It provides actionable insights and recommendations to resolve detected issues, helping to prevent system outages and improve reliability. It analyzes the root causes of operational issues, allowing teams to address underlying problems more effectively. Then we have Azure AI. Azure AI uses machine learning to provide real-time insights into resource utilization, optimization cost, and improving performance across Azure deployments. It forecasts resources need based on historical usage data, helping teams proactively scale and allocate resources. It detects security vulnerabilities and potential compliance risk, improving threat detection and response. Allows users to build and deploy custom AI models using Azure machine learning tailored for specific DevSecOps needs. Cybersecurity is all about staying a step ahead. AWS Guard Duty and Azure Sentinel are our robust solution for threat detection and response. Intelligent threat detection. AWS Guard Duty uses machine learning, anomaly detection, and and integrated threat intelligence to identify potential threats within AWS environments. It provides 24/7 monitoring for suspicious activities across AWS account, including unusual API calls, unauthorized attempts, and malicious behavior. It uses data from AWS and third-party sources to detect known threats, enhancing detection, accuracy, and threat response. AWS Guard Duty can trigger automated workflows for remediation via AWS Lambda, allowing for immediate response to threats. Let's talk about Azure Sentinel. Azure Sentinel is a security information and event management SIEM and security orchestration automated response source solution that provides real-time AI-powered security insights. It uses machine learning and AI to analyze security data and detect anomalies, proactively identifying potential threats across hybrid and multi-cloud environments. It supports advanced threat hunting with pre-built queries and tools to investigate suspicious activity in real time. It enables automation of threat response with customizable playbooks, reducing time to remediation. GRC, automating governance workflows. It means governance, risk, and compliance. We are leveraging AWS config rules and Azure policy for automated policy enforcement, with continuous compliance monitoring keeping us in check. Automating governance workflows with AWS and Azure. First of all, we have automated policy enforcement. AWS config rules and Azure policy define and enforce compliance policies across resources, automatically identifying and remediating non-compliant configurations. It custom and pre-built policies offer policies tailored for GDPR, PCI DSS, and HIPAA, ensuring regulatory alignment from deployment through operations. AWS config and Azure policy, AWS config and Azure Security Center continuously monitors resource configuration automatically, flagging any deviations from industry standards. Its centralized dashboards in AWS Security Hub and Azure Security Center provide visibility into compliance status across cloud resources. AWS CloudTrail, and Azure Monitor create detailed log of user and system actions, helping organization maintain a verifiable audit trail for regulatory reporting. Then we have audit trails and Azure Monitor create detailed log of user and system actions, helping organization maintain a verifiable audit trail for regulatory reporting. Both AWS and Azure allow for automated report generation, simplifying audit preparation and documentation for compliance teams. Its security checks in CI/CD pipelines using AWS Code Pipeline and Azure DevOps automatically enforce compliance before deployment, ensuring that new resources adhere to regulatory standards. When it comes to security, it's essential to follow best practices. First of all, we have centralized security management. AWS Security Hub aggregates alerts and findings from multiple AWS services, providing a full view of security across AWS account. Azure Security Central, Azure Security Center centralized security monitoring and recommendations across Azure resources, hybrid and multi-cloud environments. Continuous vulnerability scanning. Both tools perform regular vulnerability scans on cloud resources, identify misconfiguration, outdated software, and potential risks. AWS Security Hub integrates with services like GuardDuty, while Azure Center uses built-in threat intelligence to detect potential vulnerabilities in real time. It provides prioritized recommendation to address vulnerabilities, including security, misconfiguration, and potential threats. Then we have customizable threats and notifications. Both tools offer customizable alerts for new vulnerabilities or deviation from security best practices, allowing team to quickly respond. It integrates with AWS Lambda or Azure Logic apps to automate response to critical alerts, ensuring rapid remediation. Let's wrap up with a case study. A global fintech company, Fintech Solution Inc., indeed needed a secure and scalable multi-cloud environment to meet GDPR, PCI DSS, and HIPAA regulations. They face challenges like ensuring compliance and scaling securely across AWS and Azure. By implementing automated compliance and AI-augmented security, they achieved 98% compliance with reduced audit prep time, 45% faster threat detection with AI-driven monitoring, 40% cost saving in security operations. And at the end, I have this infrastructural diagram which I draw for this whole infrastructure. So do I need to explain this?
Yeah, if you can, you still have, well, you have only have 1 minute left. I can cover that,
Okay.
but try to cover this in 20 seconds.
Okay. So this is a DevOps team which uses Terraform for their infrastructure management, and then Jenkins deploy this Terraform template in both platforms, cloud platforms like AWS and Azure, where AWS code pipeline uh, for deployment monitored by AWS config, and Azure DevOps for deployment and monitored by Azure policy. AWS config and Azure policy ensure that infrastructure deployments comply with organizational standards, where AWS GuardDuty and Azure Sentinel are our good and robust solutions for threat detection. And at the end, we have AWS Security Hub for AWS related insights and Azure Security Center for Azure related insights. So this is the architectural diagram for this purpose.
Okay. Uh, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you're done?
Yes, sir.
You can stop the screen, please. You can stop the sharing if you can. Can someone please stop the sharing of the screen? Yes, okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So the flow was okay. The presentation, you were just reading it from somewhere, right? So you were just reading. When you are presenting, try to ensure that, this is the reason we broadcast the interviews, right? The reason is that we want everyone to understand that just when you walk in, the whole, why you're here in the first place. It's for presentation and interview. So when you're presenting it somewhere, you have to present it in a way that you're not reading it from somewhere, right? So you lost considerable amount of marks on, like, out of 5. I only had to give you only 2 because you were reading it, right? And you were going it very, very slow. So this is very important for you, Rehan Abbasi. The flow was okay. The communication is good. The knowledge, I'm going to test it out right now. AI usage, it appears that you haven't used any AI tools per se, right? So I'm going to give you full marks. Out of 5, I'm going to give you 4, right? For not doing that. So, because the presentation is assessed as per the flow, the presentation itself, the communication, the knowledge, and the AI usage, right? But you lost some marks because you were just tightly stiffed. Like if you look back at the people who have presented this thing, like Shanze, like Zara Kadri, and some of the other people, you have to make the presentation engaging, right? Because because when you are somewhere, you have to present yourself, right? The topic is very good. This is exactly the topic that every organization is trying to implement right now. The augmented compliance, AI powered augmented compliance, right? And this is something that even we are doing it ourselves right now, right? So it's an excellent topic that goes on your resume, and when you go for the interviews, you have to be better prepared, inshallah, okay? And I'm sure you'll be able
Okay,
to do
sir.
it. I can change this if I see good progress and how you're engaging with me. All right, so let the engagement begin. All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So looking at your presentation, right, I have a couple of questions for you. What does augmentation
Okay.
mean? What does augmentation means?
So augmentation means that we basically uh, integrate something like if I say that I'm augmenting my AI my organization, so I'm using that tools in for that purpose. Like if I want to augment the security tools of AWS or Azure in my company or
No, I'm
organization.
just asking you,
So
what
I will
does augmentation? The question is, pay attention. The question is, what does augmentation really means? What is augmentation?
adding something to organization or like
So
that.
it means basically, in your topic sense, like you're adding something that can give you the edge, you know,
Yes, yes,
that can give
yes.
you, like, for example, if you play games like Cyberpunk, I've seen my son doing it, right? So he augments himself, you know, he augments himself so that he can adapt
Yes,
to,
sir. Recently we've seen that augmented reality games, so might be he's interested in that. So I can understand what is augmented means, that we
yes.
are feeling myself in that thing. I'm feeling that game by
So
myself.
that's the immersive reality. Augmentation means
Yeah,
like you have to augment yourself that can gives you the edge. So organization nowadays are utilizing and embedding and infusing AI, so
yeah,
that they are better prepared, right? Okay.
yeah.
So that was not a question. I was just coming up.
It's okay.
I mean, I just wanted to understand. All right, so it's going to be a series of questions, tougher, easier, uh, stuff like that. Okay, so the first question I have is just like, you mentioned the CI/CD pipeline. I also saw your video that you created using
Thank
Jenkins.
you so much.
So you have to build a CI/CD pipeline. The scenario is you have to build a CI/CD pipeline using Jenkins, right? In your diagram you showed. And you're using AWS Code Pipeline and Azure DevOps, right? During deployment, a security flaw is detected in one of the stages. Okay, that's the scenario. In your CI/CD pipeline, using AWS code pipeline and AWS DevOps, you found out that there's a security flaw. How would you identify and mitigate the security flaw without halting the pipeline for an extended period of time?
So basically, Jenkins offers us variety of lots of plugins. So by using their plugins, I will try to figure out that where am I lagging and where is the issue. So by using as Jenkins offer variety of plugins. So by using those plugins, I can identify these things.
So, the answer needs to be designed in a detection because there's a security flaw. In a mitigation, you have to mitigate the stuff, and then prevention. So detection,
Yes.
you can use AWS Security Hub that you mentioned, or Azure Security Center to identify the flaw in real time. You can see it. Oh,
Yes.
there's a cross-site scripting, something, right? Broken links, insecure authentication, whatever. Mitigation is you have to implement automated rollback strategies in Jenkins or AWS code pipeline to revert to last secure version. This is a question that people will ask you when you go for interviews, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
now everyone is using infrastructure as a code, so you have to be better prepared. Run automated security tests like Sonar, QB, and check marks and other in the pipeline, because we have created our own secure pipeline, right? CIO, we call it the CIOps pipeline. And then apply hot fixes to identify using IAC tools, infrastructure as a tool, like Terraform or Ansible. And for the prevention purposes, update pipeline policies to block insecure code from progressing or executing, so on and so forth, right? There's a solution through which you can review the code if it can be optimized or if there are any security vulnerabilities on AWS. What's the name of that solution?
What's the name of solution? Can you please repeat the question?
So there's a solution in AWS which is able to review the code and tell you how the code can be optimized. What are the most expensive pieces of code in here? The reputation, the issues, how it can be further optimized, if there are any security vulnerabilities. What do you call that service?
CloudFormation. We use CloudFormation for AIC tools
It's
or
a AWS code,
advisory.
AWS
Co
Code Guru.
Code build.
Code Guru.
AWS Code Guru.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a solution by AWS. It's an AI-based predictive tool that we use, right?
Oh, are you talking about AWS DevOps Guru?
Yeah, DevOps Guru. Yeah, that's the one.
Yes, yes, that's name is DevOps Guru. Okay.
Yes. Okay. All right. So for automated compliance management, right? The whole topic talks about that. So scenario is it's a multinational company, needs to comply with, as you mentioned in your scenario,
Yes.
right? There's a GDPR, there's PCI DSS, there's HIPAA regulations across its AWS and Azure environment. GDPR is for European, PCI DSS for credit card, wherever you are in the world.
Payment
You comply
industries.
with, as long as you take a Visa or MasterCard, American Express, diners, you have to comply with PCI DSS, right? For Chinese companies, they have their own regulations, right? And then what you have is just like HIPAA regulations is for health protection information across this AWS and Azure environment. Now, question is, how would you design an automated compliance solution? And what tools would you use to manage multi-cloud compliance? How would you design it?
So
So answer me,
okay.
give me the answer in the design, the implementation, the tools, and the monitoring.
So basically, if I'm going to Okay, so if I'm going to comply my resources in multi-cloud environment, let's suppose I'm using AWS and Azure. In AWS, I will use AWS config, and in Azure, I will use Azure policy for configuration checking, because these are the monitoring solutions for monitoring the compliance policies that our resources are comply with our
So for the
with
design,
our
what would you use for the design? AWS config and policy. What would you do for implementation? How would you implement this?
For implementing, we can use AWS. We can customly add our AWS config, and Azure policy allows us to add our custom rules, and we can use their pre-built rules. Like they offer us that we can use ISO, we can use HIPAA, we can use GDPR rules in
Okay.
that are
Yeah.
pre-built in them.
Automate compliance
So
within the
the
templates. The tools. What
yes,
tools would you use?
I will use AWS config for that.
No. So design, you will use AWS config and Azure policy. Implementation,
Okay.
you will use create rule sets in AWS config,
Okay, for
GDPR
implementing
tools.
I will use IAC tools like
Generate the
CloudFormation.
compliance report. What would you use?
To generate, I will use for reporting. I will use the monitoring solutions like CloudWatch or CloudTrails. These kind of things.
AWS Audit Manager. Okay, that's good. All
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yes, that can also be
These are
used.
the things I will be using.
Yes. And then for monitoring purposes, what do you use? Real-time alerting.
Oh, for that I will be using CloudWatch and CloudTrail.
So guard duty, Sentinel, stuff like that.
Yes, AWS Guard Duty for threat
Look,
detection. They are not used for threat detection like
so
Guard Duty for
basically,
monitor.
the question was asking you, you have to design. You have to design an automated compliance solution. Automated compliance solution, this is what the organizations are working on nowadays, right? Everyone is now using infrastructure as a code. Great. It gives you the speed
Yes,
of deploying the solution, the server,
reduce manual errors.
very fast, right?
Yeah.
But how would you use this in a way that you can automate the compliance? Because wherever the infrastructure resides, whatever business you are in, you have to comply with a certain set of regulations, right? No matter what, right? So how would you do that? This is where different things comes. Look, when you are going somewhere, it doesn't matter to you what they're using. So your answer needs to be, for design, I will use this methodology. For implementation, I will use this methodology. For tools, I will use these kinds of tools, open source, cloud native, whatever you have, that's fine, right? And for the monitoring purposes, for real-time alerting detection, this is what I will use. So your answer needs to be in a way that it satisfies the customer, right? Because you're sitting in front of the customer.
Okay.
Okay, now the next is AI augmented threat detection. You mentioned that in your,
Yes.
presentation. So scenario, right? Let's play another scenario. Your system is under a large scale DDoS attack, distributed denial of service, right? Targeting AWS and Azure workloads. The hacker is specifically targeting AWS and Azure workloads that you have. So this is a scenario. Question: how would you leverage AI tools like Guard Duty and Azure Sentinel to identify and mitigate the attack? The
So
tools can be
for
anything.
this
Right now I'm asking you Guard Duty or Sentinel. Someone else might be using, web application
OWASP.
firewalls, maybe using, some other proprietary impervised there. There's so many tools available in the market, right? There's Barracuda, there's so many other things. So I'm just asking you from this perspective, the answer needs to be for identification and mitigation and post attack, 3 steps. For identification, I will do this. For mitigation, I will do this. For post attacks, I will do this. Please.
For identification, basically we'll use the as AWS Guard Duty uses machine learning, anomaly detection, threat intelligence. These kind of tools will be used to find out that what are the problem where we are getting attacked, and then we'll use the built-in threat hunting tools by AWS Guard Duty to find out that hurting, what's causing our solution, or what malicious actors are doing. So then automated incident response enables automation threat response with customizable playbooks. Like we have pre-built, we have practices, we have exercises for these things. So we have templates for those attacks, and we use IAC templates for those for the remediation of those attacks. So we'll quickly employ those IC tools with the help of those IC tools and remediate that attack.
So we covered identification and mitigation. What about post-attack?
Post-attack, when we are all done with the like we are recover our services, then we'll go for that. What are the major causes of that attack
The
and
lessons learned.
lessons learned basically, and we'll try to improve this next time, because whenever this happens the next time we are prepared for that, and uh, we can get recovered from this early on.
Good. That is how you have to provide the answer, right? As you can see, the interviews are getting tougher and tougher,
Okay.
right? Because lately people have been doing some very weird things. So, now I have to bring in my experience to ask questions. Okay. All right. So GRC automation, you mentioned that this is part of your objective, right? So let's play another scenario game. Your organization has failed its internal audit for ISMS and for ISMS purposes, right? Information Security Management System, due to inconsistent governance workflows. The GRC standard was not implemented properly, the ISO 38000, right? So how would you use the AWS and Azure cloud native, I'm talking about cloud native services, to automate governance workflows? Give me
So I will be using.
your answer needs to be based on tools. These are the tools I will use. This is the automation I will run, and this is the outcome I will get, right? So it's a three-step answer. And for every answer, 3 points. It's a one third, one third, one third. That's how I'm ranking you. So give me, please, an answer.
Okay. So for that, I will be using AWS config and Azure policy for compliance, so that my resources are comply with the set of rules I enforce for them. So these are the tools I will be using.
Okay. You could have mentioned
Okay.
AWS Service
These are the
Catalog
tools I will.
or Azure Blueprints for consistent policy deployment. Because remember, this is about policy deployment, GRC. I mentioned that, right?
Yes.
So it's not about infrastructure as a code, it's about policy. Okay. But I will still take that answer because it does cover the policy part as well. Automation. What would you use for automation? That's your wheelhouse.
Okay. For automation purpose, I will be using AWS CloudTrail and Azure Monitor.
Yeah, implement IAC using Terraform and to codify governance rules, GRC as a code, remember? Infrastructure as a
Okay,
code.
okay, 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 okay. I will be using Terraform or CloudFormation or Azure Resource Manager for this purpose.
Yes, yes. Okay. All right. So you got two-third answer, right?
Thank
Okay.
you.
Uh, Outcome. What would be the outcome?
The outcome will be that these tools will enforce the resources that they should comply with the set of rules. If they are not complying, our tools will enforce them to comply with our set of rules.
So outcome is going to be automated audit reports with tools like AWS
Yes,
Audit Manager and Azure Monitor Logs, look at the data, the seam, so on and so forth, right? Okay.
yes.
So let's jump on to question number 5. Okay. Multi-cloud deployment challenges. It's a big problem. Even we are facing that right now. Half of the infrastructure is in AWS, half is in Azure. We are juggling through just in the AWS cloud, the lab portion where we provide the lab containers. There are 10 million containers, right? A lot of
These are
work.
lots.
There's a lot of workload that we have to manage, right? These are the containers that the students, they're ready to be used. And these are the things that the users will be using from February or March onwards, right? So we're testing it out, making sure
Okay.
it's fine, so on and so forth, right? So it's an extensive project, right? So multi-cloud deployment makes things easier for us, right? We have a cloud orchestration thing going on. So scenario, a new feature deployment fails on Azure, but works on AWS, right? When you try to deploy, it's a multi-cloud. You use the same template. You try to deploy it in Azure, Azure, it fails. And you try to deploy in AWS, it works. We have seen that, right? How would you troubleshoot and ensure consistent deployment across both platforms? So I need to know the answer is divided into two parts, a troubleshooting part and a resolution part, right? How would you do the troubleshooting?
Sir, basically the live stream lagged for just 2 to 3 seconds. When you said that, I listened from that, when you said that you are facing issues on Azure but not on AWS. After what you said after that?
Let me repeat that.
Okay,
So when we try to deploy a new feature, there's a new option, a new button or whatever, right?
okay,
Multi-cloud deployment, that deployment fails on Azure, but it
Azure,
works
but
on AWS, right? How would you troubleshoot and ensure a consistent deployment pattern? So the answer is
so
two parts, the
s-
troubleshooting
okay.
part and the resolution part. How would you do the troubleshooting part?
So for this, for deployment purpose, we basically use Terraform because it's multi-cloud tool. So we'll check out the code.
I'm talking about troubleshooting.
Okay, I'm talking about that. We will check the code. We will check our template from where we're deploying our resources to the cloud
When
providers.
we are
We
doing
will
the
check that code.
troubleshooting, we don't check the template.
Okay.
The template is failing. Where do you check? What do you see first?
We will see that the new things coming on. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
but
because that.
as a Muslim, I can ask you, I can give you an example. On the day, since now there are non-Muslims here as well, on the day of judgment, Allah is going to show you your accounts, right? What do you call them in the computer terminology? What are those
So
things?
build logs and matrices.
Logs. Yes, yes. Okay.
Yes.
So troubleshooting is always done through logs. So use AWS Azure Monitor and and use AWS CloudWatch, sorry, and Azure Monitor to identify discrepancies. Why is it passing here? Why is it failing here? Because in the logs tells you everything. You
Okay.
can't hide
Yeah.
anything. So that's the troubleshooting part. Resolution part. Once you find out, oh, there's a problem in the IC template in Terraform, it's a platform specific. That's why
Yes.
it's running on AWS, not running on Azure. What do you do for the resolution part?
For resolution part, I will make changes, whatever I found error I found in the logs. I will figure it out and then make changes on that code or template, then deploy it again and to remediate that
So
problem.
you will adjust deployment scripts on for platforms compatibility, and then you will also
Yes,
validate deployments using containers
yes,
orchestration tools like Kubernetes, right? That's the
yes,
answer.
yes.
One third, one third, brother. Okay, not bad. So let's talk about real-time compliance. How is the interview so far? Are you okay? Do you want some water? Something?
Yes, I need some water.
Have some, have some. Have some. I'm myself drinking some coconut water.
That's great.
Okay.
Do you get this coconut water like from the shop, or are you just using coconuts and get it directly from them?
No, it's a very messy process buying
Oh,
coconut.
okay.
So this is just like, weed a cocoa. So I just get
Okay, okay.
easy. It's all, it says original, not concentrated. It's just, tastes very good. And
Okay.
all it has is basically coconut water, nothing else, right? That's the ingredient. There's no artificial thing. I like to drink and eat things which only has 1 to 2 ingredients, right?
That's great.
Okay. If it has more than 5, I stay away from them. Try to stay away from them as much as I can. All right, so
We
real-time
have, okay,
compliance, right? Real-time.
okay.
Uh, so a critical compliance validation, a critical compliance violation, this is a scenario, is flagged during a live transaction that we are doing. So we're doing live transaction testing. We found out, oh, wait a minute, it's the problem. What steps would you take to remediate this real time without disrupting business operations? So the
So for that,
answer is going to be in 3 parts. What is the detection? How would you detect it? How would you what action you will take, and what is the monitoring mechanism? So first, tell me the detection part.
so
Real
we
time.
will be using, okay,
Hold on.
we will be using, if you, yes.
You have to focus your answer on real-time compliance remediation using AI. Proceed.
Okay. To monitor that what's wrong, we will be using, as you mentioned that I have to use AI tools. For that, I will be using the AWS DevOps Guru and Azure AI for that purpose, because they check the anomalies detection and the things which are wrong in their process. For that purpose, I will be using those tools. And for remediation purpose, I will be using uh, for remediation purpose, I will be using, um, sir, what was the second part of this question? Sir,
So
the two.
what action? So it's kind of remediation, apply immediate remediation scripts. You can use Lambda function. You can do, uh, you know, review the logic of the apps on Azure and on AWS, right? So there are multiple things you can do. The monitoring part, how would you do on the monitoring part?
So I will be monitoring on AWS Security Hub and Azure Security Center, because
Okay.
it's give us overall view of the resources, what's going on there.
Okay. It's good enough. I will take that one. So you mentioned AI-powered DevSecOps.
Yes.
So scenario, and this is in our context that we're using right now. How would you detect a suspicious behavior in the CI/CD pipeline? How would you investigate and handle this situation?
In CI/CD pipeline, like if you are using Jenkins, or what tools you are using, like AWS or Jenkins, open source tools, or cloud
You can use
providers,
any
what you're
tool,
using.
whatever you like. I don't care about the tools. Just give me an explanation of how would you detect suspicious behavior in a CI/CD pipeline.
So in CI/CD pipeline, if some suspicious activity happens, we will be using AWS Guard Duty for threat detection and anomaly detections and unusual behaviors. We will be using tools like AWS Guard Duty, because usually we use these kind of tools for this kind of stuff, that identifies unusual behaviors, uh, these kind of things. So we'll use this tool.
Okay. All right. So the cost optimization and security, right? Big problem. The cost of security keeps on going up and up and up. So scenario, right? A client company comes to you and say, our security cost is going up and up, right? It's going out of control, spiraling out of control. How would you balance the cost of and effectiveness if we allow you to use AI-augmented DevSecOps? So how would you do that?
For cost optimization, I will be using AI tools like AWS uh, DevOps Guru and Azure AI, that are AI tools which are checking the resources, that which resource is utilizing more more consumption, and on basis of that, on basis of their consumption, we will or we can use one more thing like automatic, something like auto scaling kind of thing, that if our resources, like like if we have traffic, a lot of traffic, and sometimes the auto scaling system will scale up and scale downs when the need. So we'll apply these auto scaling tools and resources for that purpose, which will scales up the resources when they are in need and scale down the resources when they are not in need. For that purpose, we'll be using that kind of things.
Okay. All right. So vulnerability management, right? Your vulnerability, when you're doing vulnerability management, you find out the scan reveals multiple issues across your AWS and Azure environments. How would you prioritize and address these vulnerabilities? So give me the answer, the prioritization, how would you do that? The mitigation and the continuous improvement.
So I will be using tools like monitoring tools for this purpose, that what is the purpose, and what is the problem where I'm getting this kind of problems. So for that, I will be using AWS CloudWatch and CloudTrail, that where I'm getting the problem. So I will be using these kind of tools for this purpose.
How do you prioritize vulnerabilities? You look at a score known as what?
Um, a score?
CVSS score, right? You look at the CVSS score. This was covered in DCCS exam in the offensive security labs, right? Every vulnerability has a CVSS score that determines if it's level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 being the highest, right? That means you need to. So when you have multiple vulnerabilities in an organization, you try to see what are the high ones that I can address right now, the medium ones that may have an impact, the low ones we can wait on it. That's how you do the prioritization, right? This was very important.
So basically, we prioritize things on like we have a high alert thing. So we will
Yes,
try
it's
to
based
mitigate
on the
that
score,
first.
right? Yes.
Yes, we will
So
mitigate things on like if something is high, very high priority thing, we'll go for that first,
yes,
and for remaining for that
because you
kind of
always
things.
prioritize your time in the organization. There are so many things going on. You can't do everything at the same time, right? So there's a prioritization going on. Okay.
Yes.
Disaster recovery, right? Uh, a data breach compromised the sensitive information stored in AWS S3 and Azure. They have AWS as S3. Azure, they call it the blob storage, right? Something like that. They call it the blob storage,
Azure Blob, yes.
right? So there's a data breach and sensitive data stored in S3 and blob storage, right? Has been compromised, right? How would you handle the breach and secure the environments? I need to know the answer into immediate actions you have to take, recovery actions, and prevention. This is the last question. Okay.
Okay, so I will be using AWS Guard Duty and Azure Sentinel because these tools are used for threat detection and anomalies detection. So from the insights I will get from these tools, I will find out that what are the root causes of the problem. So when I will get out these are the problems, I will go to mitigate these things with uh, I will use these tools to mitigate the risks and the danger I found out with the AWS Guard Duty and Azure Sentinel tools.
So the best thing to do is revoke the compromised access keys because
Yes.
these things are based on API, right? And disable affected accounts. Use AI-driven basically tools like Azure Sentinel and
Yes.
AWS Massey to assess data exposure. They have the Massey on AWS side and Azure. These tools, they can be anything. They can be DLP-based tools. They can be any of these tools, right? In the organization, wherever you go, you will find new tools. So it's not the tools, it's the methodology, right? For recovery purposes, you will see restore from encrypted backups back to the secure place, the point recovery point objective and recovery time objective. That's where you go back. And from the permission purposes, prevention, this doesn't happen again, implement server-side encryption and monitor logs with AWS or SIEM or whatever you have to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Okay?
Okay.
That's how you respond back. That's the
Okay.
method. All right, so let me compile your score. Uh, Give me 1 minute, please.
Okay, sir.
All right, would you like to know if you have passed or failed the exam? Yes, Rehan. Would you like to know your results?
Yes, yes, sir. Of course.
How well did you did it? Like, how was your exam?
It was intermediate.
It was okay. It was good. You scored 72.44%, right? Uh, the topic was difficult, right? And stuff like that, but it was good. But as I said, more needs to be done. You need to prepare yourself better, articulate yourself better. All of those things can come along the way, inshallah, right? As you learn more and enhance more, if you do the Al Razak labs, you'll be much better condition, right? And you'll be able to ace
Inshallah.
any interview. So just imagine if you're going from here to UK or to USA, you have to sit in front of someone who's going to take your interview, right? And they will be less patient than what I am right now, right? You did 17 out of 25 in your basically presentation. It was a good presentation, short, precise, to the point, and you explained things well.
Thank you
Uh,
so much.
and in the interview, it was 18.11 score out of 25. You have to articulate yourself better. So that's why collectively you scored altogether, if I have to show you. Uh, So if I add all the results together, 17 plus 18.11 divided by 50. So it's coming out to 70.22%, right? That's your final score.
70,
70.
70 point.
0.22. Well, I have to check, double check everything, make sure like it's coming to 72 something. I have to check, right? But I will do that on my side. That's has nothing to do with from your side, right?
Okay.
It's going to come around that range because it will be verified and then it will be finalized and it will be sent to them. But like in your presentation, you scored 5 and 12, right? So 17. The Q&A was a tougher one. So in some points, some questions you got half, in some of them you got one third, in some of them you got half, and then one fourth was the last question, right? So yeah, I mean, more needs to be done, but altogether it was good. Uh, I'm satisfied. You need to do better. What is your goal
Inshallah.
now? What do you want to do now after getting all of these things done?
So basically, I have discussed with you earlier that I want to go to UK for masters, or if I
You
get
had that
admission
discussion some
in,
time ago. I forgot, right? Okay, so you want to go for
yes,
for the for the master's program in US in UK?
yes, I want to go to for masters, or if I get admission in the last year of bachelor's. So both are preferable. So if I get a chance, so I have discussed with you as well. So inshallah, that's my plan after this.
Inshallah. Okay. So regarding the assistance and everything, the digital transformation team, known as the Al Razak team, right, is going to assist you in terms of getting the admission. My recommendation to you is uh, target the September intake.
Yes,
Target 2025 September intake. So before you land to in UK, complete all the Al Razak labs, get some Kubernetes certifications done so that when you go there, you don't end up on a odd job. In fact, you secure a job.
yes, inshallah.
Inshallah. So that's your goal. That should be your goal. I'm going to review your scores again, make sure like it's going to come around 75 something percent, right? Not bad. Actually, it's good. But as I said, more needs to be done. You have to work harder, work smarter, inshallah, right? You will go through all of those things and it will be done, inshallah. Okay. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, that's not from. I have one question, not related to this, but in general, how you keep yourself updated with the upcoming IT knowledge or these kind of things?
So I read a lot uh, in every morning when I wake up. I
And from
follow.
where you read, what's the source?
So there's a lot of sources, but like for technical articles, I use the technical sites. But like, there's a very good thing that you can do, which is going to make your life easier. I don't know if you use, iPhone. In the iPhone, there's a section known as Apple News, right? What it does is that
Apple News.
Apple News, right? What it does is basically it
Okay,
consolidates all the news for you as per the topic globally for a given country, right? So I read on global affairs, on what's happening on education, what's happening on AI side, what's happening on computing, what's happening on the cloud side. So it just organizes all the articles for me, right? And that's how I consume those articles,
okay.
that information. That's what I do. So you can see,
By the way, I have iPhone and I will try this. That's a good thing.
you
I
have
have
to
no idea.
pay, yeah, you have to pay a subscription fee. There's a small fee for it, right?
Okay,
Uh, it's known as Apple News, and there is a following section, right? So if you click on it, you
okay,
see level of education. So if I tell you my side, the channels and the topics I follow, levels of education, higher education, marketplace. That's the news media I follow: NPR, National Public Radio, Reuters News, machine learning, consumer electronics, what's happening on that front, health, artificial intelligence, US politics. I do read a lot about politics, right?
I'm really
Technology,
interested into.
Yes, technology, Al Jazeera is one of the things, BBC, National Geographic, and Apple News Spotlight. That's the one that consolidates everything and gives me precise information about all the things happening in the world right now as per what I'm looking for. That's my source of news. And then after that, it's all work. So for work, there's a lot of official documentation, stuff like that. But we have also created our own artificial intelligence platform known as Albari, right? The project
Alpari.
Albari, but we call it Bari. The project is Bari. The tool is Bari. The project name is Albari, which is one of the names of Allah. So I use that to, be updated with the what is happening internally within our network. We have created a lot of things. We are going into AI augmentation very fast at a very faster pace, right? There's a lot of things happening. Lots of assets are being consumed. Just this morning, I allowed the CTO $35,000 budget to go in and start implementing AI solutions and adopt them at a faster pace, right? So there's a lot of things I do. My day starts in a different way. And by the time it ends, I'm all exhausted, right?
Okay.
But I've already done one kettlebell workout before I even came over here to you, right?
Inshallah.
So that's one thing. Uh, so there's a lot of things I do. My schedule is very different. It's very busy, but I'm happy. I mean, do what you follow, do what you do best. My recommendation to you is, inshallah, you did your intermediate, right?
Yes.
So you already passed through all of that. Get the AI ops. AI ops is already done. Alhamdulillah, you came long ago. This is now done. Start planning in terms of going into UK, right? That's your goal as you want to go. But before you land there, get your CCAD, CKA, and CKS under your belt and the Al Razak labs.
Okay,
Will
inshallah.
be an unmovable object from the job market. You will sit there and people will come to you.
Inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. That's the way to design yourself, right?
Inshallah.
You have to upgrade yourself and update yourself in a way and be presentable that people come to you rather than you going somewhere else, right? So that's one thing. So I'm really happy.
Thank you
Great
so
job,
much.
right? There's a policy in our organization, whoever does AI ops, what happens to them, the HR will contact you. Okay, good job. Inshallah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.